नमस्ते मित्रों, चैनल वीआर आर्टिस्ट में आप सभी का स्वागत है। आज के इस अनन्या के इस एपिसोड में हम बात करेंगे पुणे की एक कलाकार से। मित्रों, शांभवी मुदगल is an artist based in Pune who has a graduation in fine arts and a master's in fashion designing. And the output that she creates, the body of work that she creates and presents, is a beautiful marriage of fine arts and fashion. So let us talk to her and find out what she thinks, what is her thought process, and what are her creative practices. A warm welcome, Shambhavi. Channel VR Artist में आपका स्वागत है.
Thank you so much for having me, sir. It's an absolute privilege for me to be here.
It's a pleasure, Shambhavi. Shambhavi, I remember last time when we were speaking, when we were discussing, you mentioned that you completed your fine arts, and then to do masters, you did it in fashion designing.
Yes.
I'm curious to know, like, what made you think from a visual art to a fashion designing? How did you? What made you? And after completing that, now what you are creating, the body of work, once again, is a beautiful marriage of these two concepts. So that's why I'm curious to know, like, how did you move from here to there and then back to this, like?
Okay. Sir, I've always believed that art should be so much more than just paintings on a wall. I have used art to express myself through fashion. Like art, fashion is also a medium that can be used for self-expression, which is what made me drawn to the medium in the first place. I've always been drawn to fashion. Personally, I've used it a lot to express myself. And then I thought, why not help someone else express themselves through art and fashion?
Shambhavi, one curious question. I mean, I just want to know your experience, like in your thought process of it. A visual art presents a narration, whereas fashion makes a statement.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how do you find handling these two things? Because a narration is a detailed exploration, whereas statement is maybe a conclusion or a decision, like, or it's an announcement, like, basically it's like, because they say a fashion statement. How do you see? So as an artist, how do you see these both, and what's your experience while exploring a narration or a statement? How is it?
Sir, I think fashion can be a statement for the person who is wearing it, but the one who designs the garment, it's a narration for the designer. The way we tell a story through a painting, the designer also tries to tell a story through the garment. So the way we choose the colors, the composition in a painting, a designer also makes a conscious choice of the type of material to use. And also, I feel like the way we compose on a canvas is very similar to what we do on a mannequin or a human figure. The only transition is from a 2D to a 3D. I find it very fascinating because you already have a ready form, a very beautiful form of the human body, and then you have your own forms with the fabric, and then you get to drape and beautifully sculpt and compose around the form.
Fashion is also, it's also called as a second skin.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
And now, if fashion is an what do you say? It's an expression or an expression of a body. A painting is an expression of a soul or a mind.
Yes.
Right? Now, as you said, while creating that fashion, yes, it's an exploration, or it's an exploration of a soul. But once it is done, then it becomes a body.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So my interesting or the interesting question that I have here is, you work with different materials, especially with fabric. Now fabric, उसकी क्वालिटी अलग होती है, उसके धागे अलग होते हैं, उसकी थिकनेस अलग होती है उसमें, करेक्ट, एंड उसको अलग अलग शेप साइज में कट करके व्हेन यू स्टार्ट working on it, right? So the material has its own personality, own attitude, its own life, its own characteristics. Now, but when you create, the output speaks, communicates at another level. What's
Right.
your experience, or what's your take on this? How do you see this?
So the reason why I chose to take fabric or textile as a medium is basically the possibilities that the medium has to offer. Like you said, every fiber and every fabric has a characteristic on its own, and I think that, for me it is a collaboration with the medium. The medium that I'm working with has a mind of its own. It reacts in a certain way. So I most prominently use plant fibers and animal fibers in my works. I don't use a lot of synthetic fibers. So when a natural fiber that is unprocessed, you try to treat it in a way, it has a mind of its own. It listens to you, but it also has a mind of its own. So according to the mood that I want to convey, according to the form that I want to shape, I select the fabric accordingly. I think the layering that I do with fibers is what is very interesting for me, because it brings forth a lot of different textures. And I've always been drawn to textures, and the way the fabric reacts when, for example, when it is distressed, or when it is stretched, when it is burnt, when it is cut in a certain way. There are different moods that the fabric goes through. And what fascinates me is that, it's a very hands-on medium. Like, I'm always in physical touch with the medium, and I can actually shape it the way I want with my fingers. So I feel like it is a different kind of connection that I have when I'm actually doing it.
Excellent. Now, when you spoke about mood, about the mood that it creates, or the way how it responds to you, I remember you telling me last time, saying that, this entire body of work started with a dream, something that you dreamt, and then when you woke up with that half dream or something, and then you started working and you wanted to realize something. Like, can you just tell me something about that? I remember vaguely telling me that.
Yes. So actually, it goes way back from that. So as a person, I've always been an introvert. I've always had a trouble expressing myself through words. So I've used art as a form of a journal, or like my personal diary. So there was a phase, when I reached a certain age, I started noticing that, the people around me, my friends, my relatives, everyone that I come in contact with, they have a certain perception about me. They had a certain idea about me. I realized that, they were labeling me, they were putting me into boxes. And the ideas that they had about me, I could not really resonate with it. And then when I started thinking about it, I realized that, do I know myself very well? If this person thinks I am a certain way, if that person thinks, if I'm not that, then what am I? And then when I started thinking about it, I realized that I don't know a lot about myself. Then what I started to do an experiment. What I did was I started observing myself as a third person. So when I had a particular thought, why am I thinking this way? Why am I reacting the way I am doing? Why are my actions a certain way? So when I realized this, I realized that a lot of things that I was doing were not consciously chosen by me. It was all unconscious action and thought. So when I started to consciously choose my thoughts and the way I was reacting to things, I started feeling a shift in the way I am, in the way I was reacting to things, in the way I was handling things. And it was such a overwhelming period. And in that period, I also started getting a lot of vivid dreams. And to me, I could feel a certain energy in those dreams, and I started seeing a few forms. And for me, that was very fascinating. So when I used to wake up, I used to try to recollect a little bit about it. I used to try to do some sketches, but I could not do justice to it. So what I thought was, when I chose fabric as the medium, when I started experimenting with fabrics, what I thought was the best way I could relate my situation or my emotion to is the way the fabric was reacting to me. And when I started working on my thoughts and my mind, I was reading a lot of things. While reading, I realized that there's something called an energy body that we all have, like a physical body, a mental body. We also have an energy body. And our energy body has a direct contact, has a direct impact on the kind of thoughts we have. So I decided to explore that a little bit. And then that is how I actually started dabbling a little into spirituality. Um, I started a few practices of Kriya Yoga. And then what started happening to me was I started feeling the energy in colors and forms. So later, the way I used to work earlier was most prominently visually, and then it shifted to more energetically. So I was not focused on the visual of a form. I was more focused on the energy of the form. And then when I started focusing on the energy, what happened was the forms that I had seen in my dreams, I could start seeing similar forms in my artwork.
Excellent. So through this creative practice, are you trying to discover yourself, or are you trying to uncover yourself, or are you trying to explore yourself? Are you trying to conclude? Kya kar rahe ho? What are you doing?
So at the moment, I just feel like I'm trying to explore myself, because the more I try to know about me, the more I realize that I know nothing. So I think for me right now, it's just a journey of self-discovery, which is why I feel most of my paintings are also, they do not look very complete. If you look at it as an artwork, uh, you might feel that you could do something more to it. But for me right now is, I know certain things. I have reached a certain stage, and I don't want to do anything beyond that, because then that is not what is true to what is happening within me.
Okay. So the incomplete stage is a statement like.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. Last time you sent me the images of those work, whatever you have been doing. And in that, when I see the forms are so irregular, so they are so, what do you say, they are raw. They are like, but however, I find them with a lot of, what do you say, threads being roped like.
Yes.
So it looks raw and it looks what do you say, large here, but each one of them seem to be very powerful,
Yes.
right? Now my question is, see, in a painting, when we compose, we have a square or a rectangle, what do you say, a bracket, one
Yes.
canvas thing like,
Yes.
and उसी के अंदर बनाना होता है, उसी के अंदर पूरा दुनिया, whatever you want to create there.
Mhm.
But whereas in your compositions, the forms are so, they are like they are raw, they can be, you know, they can, अपने मनमानी है उनकी,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So but still वो पूरा complete होने के बाद एक it gives a statement. Now how do you compose such manmani ideas where you don't have a bracket there? मेरे ख्याल
Okay.
से what I understand or what I think is like, वो एक बार काम होने के बाद then maybe you must be trying कि यार इसको अभी कहाँ कैसे रखे, कहाँ रखे, लेकिन जब तक
Ye-
बन रही है अपनी मनमानी तरीके से बन रही है वो. Is
Yes.
that the way? How is, like, can you just elaborate on how do you begin with an idea and how do you go with that?
Okay. Uh, so to begin with, I have a lot of trouble fitting into brackets in general as a person also. I've also tried putting my artworks into brackets, but it just doesn't satisfy me, is what I feel. So when I start working on a composition, I don't really have anything in mind. I do not make any sketches because, like I said, my work is more of a collaboration. So even before beginning, I am not aware of what exactly is going to happen. So I consciously choose the materials that I want to work with. I choose the fibers, I choose the colors, and then I start laying the fibers on top of one another. So I'd like to mention a little bit about my technical process, the way I handle it. So what I do is sometimes I use only fibers to create a certain form, or sometimes I fuse it with a fabric. So when you're using raw fibers, like for example, if we talk about wool fibers, uh, when you layer the fibers on top of one another, when you wet the fibers or when you heat the fibers, what happens is the fibers start fusing onto one another, and that creates a certain texture. So when you're using it with a certain type of fabric, it will give you a certain texture. So the way a cotton might react to a fiber is very different from the way a silk might react to the same fiber, to the same process. So now after exploring a few fabrics, I have realized that, okay, this is the kind of result that I'm going to get. So I have an idea about 80% that this is how it should react, and then I choose the fabric accordingly. Then when I start working with the fabric, I just go with the energy, like I said, the emotion that I'm feeling at the moment, and I try to undo a lot of things in the process. Like even with the fabrics, there's not a lot of time that I have used the fabric just the way it is. I de-stress it, I burn it, I stretch it, I cut it. So in a way, it is to undo something, unlearn something before creating something new from it. So in order to get a new result, you have to manipulate the fabric in a way um, to act it according to you.
Currently, what is the series that you're working on? What is the body of work that you're working on? I think last time you were working something on metamorphosis, right?
Yes. So actually, I'm still working on the same series. I think there's a lot to explore, but right now I feel I have a certain feeling of, I don't know why, including a few figurative forms. Those forms will still be abstract, but I want to include a few figurative forms in my artworks. So that is what currently I'm exploring, because that is kind of new to me right now.
Mhm. Is there any particular theme or subject which you think like, okay, after my preparation, after my learning, after some time, like this is the dream project or this is the dream series that I want to do?
Um, Sir, I don't really have anything like a dream project, but something that I would definitely like to explore is a more 3D medium. I would really like to explore the sculpture or an installation kind of medium with textile and fabric.
Excellent. Shambhavi, I think also there is another qualification of yours, that is, I think you are into leather restoration. Am I right? Yeah.
Yes,
And if I'm not wrong, you're the only lady or the first woman uh,
yes.
who's a leather. Can you just tell about that? That's something interesting.
Okay. So when I was in fashion college, I was working on a collection of accessories in leather, which were hand painted shoes and accessories. That is how I got into leather. So I've been working in the field of leather for the past 4 to 5 years. I've also worked in the field of footwear, hand painted footwear for 3 years, and I do customized paintings on footwears. Again, the thought behind it was trying to make art more wearable, and to help someone express themselves. That is how I got into leather. And so there's a lot of new technology related to leather coming to India. We've not been very up to the mark when it comes to leather. So when I found out about it, it was something that was fascinated. I found it very fascinating, and it is a very high end skill actually. Um, it's the combination of complex technology and the knowledge of material. Leather also as a material, if you think of it, it's a natural product, and it's a very sensitive material to work with. And I thought, why not try and manipulate leather? Why not explore the medium further? And then I came across this company who is into leather restoration. So I trained with them for a year, and now I also do leather restoration.
Kya baat hai? Excellent, excellent. So it's like, mm, mm, um, there is a lot of what do you say, various dynamics into your creative expressions. Like, find it very interesting. So Shambhavi, we would definitely like to see more and more works of yours, creative body of works, especially with the 3D and installation. What you're saying, I remember you mentioning about this last time, and excellent. I think you have expressed yourself. You have told what you do, right? So thank you very much, Shambhavi, for this session. I will invite you once again when I have to discuss something about uh, 3D art works, especially with different materials when it's happening. I intend to have an this thing session, and that time I will invite you. But thank you very much for sharing your experiences and your ideas about this work.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving us a platform. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to express ourselves. I think I was very excited for this, and I learn a lot watching the other videos, listening to the other artists who come here and talk about it. And I think this is something like a service that you're doing to an entire art community. So I really want to thank you for it.
Thank you very much. A pleasure. Glad to hear this. So, friends, this was Shambhavi Mudgal. You heard her, you listened to her views, opinions, her ideas, her concepts. Do let us know what you think about this discussion. Like, share, comment, and subscribe channel VR Artist. And thank you very much for being with us here. Thank you, Shambhavi, once again. Thank you very much.